Apply graphite to the back of your template. Place your template on the back of your lino block with the graphite touching the lino. Secure the template to the lino using pieces of masking tape. Stick your template in the middle of your lino block. If it has been stuck in the middle, you will see a small blue border around the white template. Go around the black shapes with a Biro pen. Carefully take off the masking tape. It will now be a mirror image of the template image. When you print the block, the design will be reversed. If the graphite lines on your block are too faint, you can carefully draw over them again with more graphite to make them darker. This is worth doing as the lines can be rubbed away by your hand during the carving stage. Colour in the printing areas of the design with a marker pen. This stage is optional, but it makes it easier to see where you need to carve. The parts of the lino you remove are going to be white, assuming you are printing on white paper. Colouring the block helps your brain to get used to this, as the parts you carve out will appear lighter than the uncut areas. Just remember to carve away the parts that aren't coloured in. For the first layer, this means I will essentially be carving out the background. The wooden bench hook is a versatile wooden board that holds your linoleum as you cut out an image. The bottom is pressed into the edge of a table to prevent slipping, whilst the angled top keeps your lino in place. Tuck yourself in so your belly is pressed up against the wooden bench hook. Lino cutters are very sharp, so to avoid cutting yourself, always carve away from your hands and away from your body. You may need to hold the lino with your second hand, so make sure you are holding it to the side or behind your lino cutting tool. A lino cutting tool is to be held comfortably with the handle in the palm of the hands, whilst the index finger guides from the top, exerting pressure. The thumb keeps the tool in place by resting it on the side. The sharp blade removes a coil of lino as it pushes forward. The angle you hold the tool at will determine whether the cutting tip moves forward in a level way as you push on the tool. By raising or lowering your wrist, you can control this. Raise your wrist slightly to make a steeper angle and the tool will go deeper into the lino. Lower your wrist slightly to bring the cutting tip up. Take some time to find the right angle. You will find you have to push harder with the larger tools as you're removing more lino. When you are using smaller tools or making shallower cuts, you will need to use less force as small movements of the wrist may be enough. Carve along the edges of the design, focusing on the tool that is against the edge. It's always easiest to do the edges first and then clear away the bits next to it. Gentle curves can be made by moving your wrist or arm left and right as you cut forward. More pronounced curves may require you to move your whole body. To make a circle or a pronounced curve, rotate the block as you carve. Lean into the tool and push the block against it with your other hand, being careful not to cut towards your finger. Hold the tool steady while you rotate the block around it in a circle. Try to keep your hand level as you move so the cutting tip of the tool remains upright. The dots will not always be perfectly round, but with a little more practice you can get them to be pretty close. Create a rubbing of your block using some paper and a pencil to check which areas are going to be printed. The more flat and even you leave the carved surface, the easier it is to print clean. Aim to reduce the block to around 1/3 of the original thickness. Set up the printing area in an organised way and try to keep the ink in one place. Squeeze some ink onto your ink sheet near the top edge. Spread the ink to the width of your ink roller. This is your ink reservoir for dipping the roller into when you need more ink. Dip the roller into the ink reservoir and start rolling it out in the space below. Once the ink is evenly spread on the roller, look to see if you have the right amount of ink. There should be a slight texture to the ink like sandpaper. If there is too much ink on the roller, it will take on an orange peel texture. If this is the case, remove the excess ink using a piece of white paper. Once you have an even layer of ink on the roller, roll it onto your block to transfer the ink. Try to roll in straight lines, covering the whole surface evenly. Roll in different directions to reach all corners and edges. Wipe away any stray ink from the non-printing areas of the block with a dry piece of material. The first time you ink a block, you can see if you've missed any areas, but after that, the block will be stained and it's harder to see. It will look worse after you've wiped it, but don't worry, it should stop the ink from transferring to the paper when you print. Place the inked block into position. Make sure you don't put your fingers in the ink. Take a sheet of printing paper and line it up on the registration template. Fix it at the side edge with one long piece of masking tape. Carefully lower the paper onto the block. Hold the paper so it doesn't move and rub over the back of your paper with your ink roller. You will need to press quite hard to transfer the ink. Check your progress by flipping the sheet away. Reapply ink to the block, clear away any stray ink and lower the paper back onto the block. Using your clean ink roller, go over any areas that need to be printed again. When you have finished, lift the paper and carefully remove the masking tape.